Live the Goals Podcast, episode number 120.
Live the Goals Podcast, your place for motivation, life lessons, and laughter. Don't settle for wandering through a mundane life. Instead, let us help you reach your goals and live a fulfilling life doing what you love. Our guests know what it's like to live with purpose and laugh along the way. Warning, if you're a stick in the mud, you definitely need to stick around. Loosen up your ties, kick off your high heels, and let's get to it with your host, Dale Richardson.
Welcome back to Live the Goals Podcast, friends and family. I'm your host, Dale Richardson, and I'm ready to get you to this great episode, this interview episode. Our guest today is Emily Rose, and Emily is the breakup coach. So we're not talking about a relationship breakup, although she does help people with that as well. We're talking about a breakup with your distractions so that you can reach your ideal life faster and better. So looking forward to you hearing this interview as well as all the laughs. I love the fact that she's focused on helping to create more female leaders in the world and working to eliminate suffering in the world. Just a really fun interview, even though we do get into some hardships, some dark times, as well as talking a little bit about death. So friends and family, look forward to having you hear this. Oh, by the way, Emily gives out free coaching sessions. So that's one of the great things that she did for you, friends and family. She's offering free 45-minute coaching sessions to you. So the link to that is on our show notes page. So if you're interested in that after listening to this interview, make sure you go over, click the link, and schedule your free coaching with Emily. So friends and family, with no further ado, let's get into today's interview episode. Friends and family, I'm happy to have our guest with us today. Today's guest is Emily Rose, and Emily is a best-selling author and breakup coach. Her deepest desire is to help people hone in on their passion, remove distraction from their mission, and grab life by the horns. Emily, are you ready to help us set and reach goals that matter?
Heck yeah, I am.
All right. Awesome, Emily. I've given people kind of the official introduction to who Emily is, but I'd love for you to share a little bit more about who you are.
That is such a deep question, Dale. It's the whole existential, who am I, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that we're probably going to be talking a little bit about purpose today, but one of my missions is to help create more female leaders in the world, and also in general, just to help people live their ideal lives. I really believe in having death in your consciousness at all times so that you can really make the most of every moment here on Earth.
Wow. And you said death, correct?
I did. I know it sounds kind of morbid, but honestly, when I multiple times a week, I basically ask myself the question, if I had 2 months left to live, what would I do? And if my answer isn't this, as in what I'm doing right now, then I attempt to change my answer to make sure that it is this. Because, really it's about aligning your moments and enjoying your moments, aligning that with your bigger purpose and really feeling fulfilled in each and every moment. So, sometimes there are times where, where we can't do that, where we're kind of putting in the time to get to the place where we really are loving our moments. And that can be okay, for a sustained amount of times. But for the most part, making sure that you're really enjoying your moments, that's really important to me individually, and also something I like to help people do.
Yeah, and whether it sounds morbid or not, I think it's a great corrector, right? It's a great way to correct the path that you're on and make sure that path is in alignment with the way you want to live. And, I oftentimes in my seminars talk about that, what I call your life sentence, right? What you want people to say about you when you're no longer here. So maybe I'm a little more morbid too.
Yeah. Well, the thing is it's going to happen. It's like, and we can either walk around totally oblivious to it, or we can really harness that knowing and enjoy our lives, right?
Yeah. So Emily, let's lighten the mood a little bit.
Please. Dove right in there.
we did. And as you know, we talked about this a little bit before the interview. I love starting my podcast with a funny story or a laugh out loud moment. It doesn't have to be this big, gigantic moment, but I just really want people to remember that life is a journey and you got to laugh along the way. So, Emily, I'd love to hear something that made you laugh recently.
Okay. And as I was telling you, I was I was having a hard time coming up with this because I was feeling like everything that was making me laugh recently was just so kind of niched down to my own experience that I was like, oh, nobody else is going to find this funny. So I thought of a really just sort of silly, goofy moment that happened last week. I just moved actually halfway across the country from California to Austin, Texas, and
Wow.
And I'm loving it in Austin, and I'm making tons of new friends, and it's super fun. I moved into this beautiful home here in Austin, and one of the most magnificent things about this home is my bathtub. My bathtub is fabulous, so I've been chilling in the bathtub in the evenings and just really enjoying that kind of luxury. And so I had recently I hadn't, however, gotten bubble bath, but I'd been really enjoying, trying to get a bubble bath going. So I'd been using this body wash that I had, and I'd been, so I ran out of this body wash, and then the day before I went and I got a different kind of body wash to use for the bathtub. And so I was filling up the bathtub, and I was Skyping or FaceTiming with my friend, and I pour the new body wash into the bathtub thinking that it's going to be, similar to the old body wash. And I walk away and I let the bathtub fill because it takes almost 10 minutes to fill. And so, I hang up with my friend and I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to go hang out in my bubble bath now. And I walk into the bathroom and the bubble bath, the bubble baths were not the same. The body wash was not the same. The bubble bath was the bubbles were overflowing, completely pouring out over the sides and foaming up, a foot above, the actual bath itself. So I'm sitting there going, oh my God, the water level is still lower, but oh my goodness. So I get into the bathtub and I'm just can barely see above the bubble baths. I'm trying to push them down. It was just ridiculous. And I was cracking up.
It turned into a foam party instead of
It was a total foam party. I was partying with my kitty cat. We were having a great time. It was great.
That's hilarious. Oh man, how can that should have been top of mind. That is hilarious.
Yeah, I was definitely swimming in the foam. It was okay, where's my bathtub? I don't even see it.
Oh, wow. Well, Emily, thank you for sharing that with us and reminding us again. I mean, that's the exact type of situation I'm talking about. That's something that could have gotten you real upset about, but it's a lot better if you just kind of sit back and laugh at it.
Yeah, I couldn't be too upset. Still getting in that thing.
there you go. Yeah. So Emily, let's jump into our first topic here, which is goals. It's Live the Goals podcast. So of course we're going to talk about goals, and I love when people set big, meaningful goals. And so sometimes when people do that, they get a little stuck with what to do first, or they may not have all the skills or tools that they need to get to those goals. So I'd love for you to share with our friends and family a tool or a strategy that you use to make sure that you reach your goals.
Okay. I knew this question was coming, and live the goals, I knew we were going to talk about this. And I've got to say that I'm wondering if you're going to publish this in the end because of what I have to say here. I am guessing that what I'm going to say is probably different than anybody else. And it's because I've recently in my life, over the last maybe, 3 to 6 months, have been using my own life as an experimentation with approaching goals differently. And I am doing so with my coaching clients as well because of the people that are coming to me and because of what they're working with. And it's been quite transformational. And so I definitely want to share what we've been doing that's different. Yes. And that is purely follow your joy, follow what you want to do in a moment. And so basically what I was seeing happen, what I was experiencing personally in my life is, there are people that work very, very well. I mean, it's just different personality types. There are people that work very, very well with external accountability, with setting goals, to public, to accountability partners, to mastermind groups, things like that, and allowing those kind of support systems to really help achieve the goals. I am not one of those kinds of people, and there are plenty of people that I work with as a coach that are also not those kinds of people. And I've coached. I should mention that I've coached like well over 100 people. So I've got a good sample you can hear. And what I find is that sometimes with a certain level of an external accountability, or even internal accountability, sometimes what happens is certain things become obligatory. These things that were once operated upon as inspired action become feeling, it feels obligatory. It feels like, and then it feels stifling. And then all of a sudden you get this resistance. And, and there's lots of books, great books written about, tackling resistance and Do the Work by Stephen Pressfield. Great book on that. And actually I'm going to counter that philosophy with really the opposite approach, which is instead of continually pushing against the wall and fighting the resistance and potentially getting into overwhelm and depression and feeling that funk that can arise from that, if that's not the direction you're headed in, pushing against the resistance is a growth point, then good, go for it. If you're good with that external accountability, go for it. But if you're not, if you can tell that you're kind of going into this hole, into this funk, into this dark place, release the expectation of pursuing that for this moment and figure out what it is that would make you feel good. And this sounds, it might sound simple, but actually what happens is when we start to release that expectation and start to allow ourselves to take a break, a lot of guilt can creep in because we are told, that we need to be being productive, and, producing all the time, especially, entrepreneurs. I mean, the message we're getting from business books, from each other is like, go, 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 from society. I mean, we're really in a productive based society. So we value productivity. We value, that go, go energy. And that really can create overwhelm. It can create exhaustion, and it's so important for us to, when we feel the need to actually, kind of take our fangs out of that experience, try to let go a little bit and drop into what would feel good in a moment. Because in that space of releasing and dropping into what you really want to be doing, if what you really want to be doing is taking a bubble bath, then go take that bubble bath. Because in that bubble bath, or in, your form of relaxation, even if it's sticking on a movie or, a TV show or whatever that is, what happens is your brain, your mind goes into an incubation phase. All of the things that you're trying to call in and cultivate in your life need room to actually come to you also. So if we're continually chasing something, it's like we're chasing it into a corner and it doesn't actually get the room to expand or grow in our lives. And so if we can release and actually calm down and take the space when we feel like it's necessary, we create the space for this thing that we've been trying to call in to enter.
Wow. And I know that this isn't really about goals, but it's funny because it made me just think about last weekend. I just recently moved as well. And
it's a big deal.
Yeah, tell me about it. and I had this goal of doing a lot of purging at the same time. A lot of things just tend to accumulate as you live somewhere for years and years. And so my girlfriend was helping me out, and we had two sayings that she would bring up every once in a while that would kind of keep us on track. And so every once in a while, when I couldn't make a decision on whether I should keep something or get rid of it, she would say, is it going to fit in a tiny house? And so that's one. Does it fit in a tiny house? Because we've joked before about the fact that we could do that. And
that's cool.
And then the second thing, which is really the point that popped into my head as you were talking, she would kind of joke, hey, put it to your heart. And then if it makes you happy, keep it. If it doesn't, get rid of it. And so we did that over and over with all types of random things in the house.
That's so beautiful. I call it cleaning out the closet exercise, basically. And I actually have my people do this too. And, what you can think of with this is that, this everything is put here with a purpose, for a purpose. Mm-hmm. And if you have all this stuff accumulating in your house and it's just sitting there, you're not giving it the opportunity to fulfill its purpose. And so if you are able to release this item from your clutches and pass it on to someone who can use it, then you actually do a service for this little item itself.
I love that.
And, and I wasn't sure what your comment about, I know this wasn't really about reaching goals. I wasn't sure if that comment was directed towards what I was talking about or what you were talking about. Because I do feel like what I was sharing is about reaching goals, because sometimes we are meant to, go after the goals, and sometimes we're meant to create the space for the goals to come to us, because it's
absolutely.
It's that ebb and flow, right?
Yeah, and I absolutely was not talking about what you said.
Okay, cool.
What you said was right on point. I love that, giving space for it to come to you sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Instead of forcing it. And so, no, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about the fact that I was moving and trying to clean my place up.
Oh my gosh. And that has, what's so funny is when I moved, I realized, I landed in Austin and I came up with this term of, portal words. Like, there are these phrases, portal phrases. There are these phrases that we say that we say on a whim, or we say, with some level of like consciousness and seriousness, but they end up being these portal phrases. And I'm gonna move is a total portal phrase, because it's, maybe, just a handful of little words, but oh my goodness, those little words hold so much upheaval in them, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, Emily, you gave us a really big concept for how to approach our goals. And like you said, it may be counter to what some people have heard before, but I think it's beautiful and very helpful. But I'd like to now learn a little bit more about you, since you've been sharing with us. What's a big goal that you're working on?
Oh, that is great. I'm actually working on my bachelor's degree at Harvard's Extension School. So graduating from Harvard in the next couple years here, that's a goal that I'm consistently working on. So I'm in school while also working on my business. And you can imagine how much that is to take on, So I have goals around school and around my business, and I actually have financial goals, like very clear financial goals for what I want to be doing with my business, and so I have more immediate goals, and I have mid-sized goals, and I've got the long-term life goals. So, what scale would you like me to speak to?
I'd love to hear about the long-term life ones. Let's get big here. Let's talk about the big one.
Oh my gosh, man, Dale, you're asking the big questions.
Let me tell you this.
Okay.
One of the last interviews I did, one of the goals of the guy that I interviewed was to go to space in the next few years. So
okay, I can get on board with that. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Is this a goal that he's actually working towards?
He's trying to find a way to work towards that.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
No, that's seriously so cool. I love that. I would love to go to space. That's like when I was a tiny little girl, that's what I wanted to do. I was going to be a ballet dancer on the moon. So I'm down with that. Way to go, guy. I like that. But I have to listen to that one. Okay. Well, there's kind of the biggest goal, or it was more like sort of divine purpose channeled in. So maybe I'll keep that if we're going to talk about purpose at some point. Maybe I'll save that. Ultimately, one of my goals is to be a New York Times bestseller, which is a pretty big goal, and yes, ultimately be a writer, as a career. That's what I would like to do. I would love to be president of the United States. That would be a goal that I actually have pinned above my bed And
that's cool.
How much I'm working towards that, I'm not so sure. I'm kind of crossing my fingers that by the time, that would be feasible in the next, 8 years, 12, maybe 16 years, that by the time that could be potentially feasible, that our culture is okay with sort of interesting past experiences, rather than the whole like I didn't inhale thing. So
Right.
I inhaled.
Right. That's hilarious. Oh man. Well, those are two big, gigantic goals, and so, I love hearing those type of goals because I think they inspire us to dream. They give us something to work towards.
Yes.
And it ties in with what we've been talking about already, that it's something that kind of brings you some joy. And then just the concept of, if you're shooting for these big, gigantic goals, there's a journey along the way. And as long as you're enjoying that journey, sometimes you reach the goal, sometimes you shoot past the goal, sometimes you come up a little short. But if those goals are big enough, then you're going to get so much out of that journey anyway.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I love the idea that, if you're shooting for something very big, you become somebody worth becoming along the way.
Yeah.
Give credit to the success principles, Jack Canfield, for that idea.
Yeah. And having goals that require you to be somebody a little bit better than who you are now. So you did kind of touch on the fact that you've got some goals that are around your purpose, and so let's go ahead and just dig into that now. What do you see as your purpose, or what goals do you have that surround your purpose?
So yeah, the President of the United States thing, I'm not sure how that's going to shake out. I'm watching I'm watching West Wing right now, going, do I really want to do that? But and if it is, I hope to. I think that the idea behind, President of the United States is just being in a position of leadership and influence, and
right.
And so my purpose that was delivered to me in a moment of kind of epiphany style, actually totally epiphany style, when I was 19 years old. It's broad, and it's broad enough for me to understand that I could take many avenues to be serving this purpose. And so it is potentially through writing, and even writing fiction, that I might be able to serve my purpose, which I'm very excited about now. So since it came to me at 19, I'm 34 now, I've been sitting with this big idea of a purpose for a really long time. So I'll tell it to you, but just know that it's morphed a lot through time, and it's really big, and it's just really kind of crazy sounding. But basically, I feel that my purpose here is to help us as a species create some sort of human species, human being type way of operating together that is more sustainable, and sustainable for the earth and for all living beings. And so it's very broad, it's very big. I've looked to political structures, I've looked to societal structures and I will continue to do so, to understand, what works, what hasn't worked, and to try to kind of look to the structures that have been in place that I could, kind of build upon or completely overhaul. I say I, but I mean like we, so that we could live better as a species, just more peacefully. And I can make this sound super, super hippie if I want to, but really it does come down to creating more equality across the board, and dropping borders, and, getting rid of or minimizing, war and suffering. Really, it comes down to suffering. So I started, how can I help alleviate suffering in the world? How can I help, help people to stop perpetuating hate and violence upon each other. Because, so when I was younger, I wanted to be an FBI agent. And then I was like, well, I don't want to just catch the bad guys. I want to actually, punish the bad guys. And so then I graduated high school and went into my first year of college thinking I was going to be a lawyer for the district attorney's office. Mm-hmm. And then it was that year, when I was 19, that I had a political science professor that really rocked my world. And after that class is when this all came to me. And I realized that those are just Band-Aid solutions. And what I want to do is go to the heart and the root of the problem. And what the problem is that, we have all this hate and violence in the world because people are suffering, people are in pain, people are having these horrible life experiences and being shaped, in this way. And we're just perpetuating the violence in that way. And so what can I do, to help alleviate that? And so I started coaching, as a relationship coach 5 years ago or so, teaching self-love and self-acceptance and understanding the self, because it really does, of course, start with each individual. And so taking that program into a wider scale, my book is called Break Your Bad Love Habits. It's all about self-love and self-acceptance, and spreading that message, is one way that I can help alleviate pain on a bigger scale. So now I'm getting into writing fiction and honestly getting into writing science fiction. I really like the concept of like dystopia and utopia and writing to that and kind of maybe creating worlds around that show potentially where we're going if we keep heading this direction, or where we could be going, is very fascinating to me. And perhaps I could, deliver some sort of bigger messages, through my writing.
Yeah. What really does give me, and I'm guessing my friends and family that are listening, some insight into who you are and who we're dealing with here, Emily, is how much your purpose is grounded in others, right? And how your purpose requires you to value other people, because I don't imagine anyone has a purpose like that. Anyone talks about trying to do what you're setting out to do if they don't truly value everyone, right? Each and every person out there, whether we agree with what they say or not. And so that is, I love hearing that. And it's something that just kind of reminds me, it reminds me of why I love doing this and why I love doing these interviews and why I'm so excited for our friends and family to hear the people that we're interviewing on Live the Goals podcast, because it's a mindset like that I think will eventually get us there, right? The more people that want to do that and want to chip in a variety of ways. I've had doctors on the show that say that they want to eliminate suffering through better health and education, and then you through your writing and coaching and I'm assuming speaking as well. The more that all of us are doing that, maybe we'll eventually get there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, and to be honest, and hopefully not diminish what the impact I just made, but a lot of it's for the animals for me too. I mean, the way that we treat animals, is horrible, for the most part. I mean, of course, domesticated animals are different, but, we commoditize animals and, and take them from their natural habitats and treat them as if they're lesser creatures. And that, personally hurts my heart, and so this is why I say for all living beings, it's for humans and animals and all critters,
Yeah, and we are going way down a tangent, and I love that. If anyone knows me, they know I go down tangents all the time. But that also reminds me, and you might have gotten this if you kept on that law school path. There's a class called Property where we discuss property rights, of course, and one of the first cases we read in Property just really was jarring. It really just kind of shook me. And so it was a case that essentially, I'm going to summarize it and boil it down. So I'm not really going to do it a lot of justice, but to make my point, essentially the case said, hey, these Native Americans don't have any right to this land. So it's your land. You have the property rights because they aren't changing the land. They aren't doing anything to it. So because they try to exist kind of like as one with the land, right? Mm-hmm. They would rotate to different places so as not to harm the land. They would move about. They wouldn't do anything to try to, as much to change the character of what the land was. The way that our legal system was was created,
right?
We then said, well, because they didn't do anything to it to we'll just say damage the land, they don't have any rights to it. And so,
right.
And so, yeah, I think we have a lot of that kind of just ingrained in the way we live, that we do what we want to with land, animals, so forth and so on. And we don't stop and think about maybe what we're doing in the bigger scope of things, what we're doing to the earth, what we're doing to other people, what we're doing to other animals. And so kudos to you. I love, yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super intense. It's it's the taker mentality. I guess Ishmael by Daniel Quinn, I believe.
Okay.
That book is a really cool book on that kind of psychology. Yeah, it's like the taker mentality versus the giver mentality. So how much can we take from the earth, and rather than like how can we give to the earth and allow it to give to us?
Yeah.
I told you I could end up sounding like a hippie with this, but which is fine. I'll totally embrace my hippiness if this is what we're talking about.
Oh man. So Emily, let's transition a little bit. You've got some really big, gigantic goals. Some of it grounded in your purpose. And well, actually, I guess all of them grounded in your purpose, but some of them are just kind of for the world, and some of them are more for you. And I know that has evolved over time because even in your story, you told us about how that evolved. And another thing I know about people is that over time, you're going to face some ups and some downs. And so right now, Emily, what I'd love to hear from you is a story about maybe one of the obstacles you faced that other people might call a failure, but you know better, that by looking back at this obstacle and what you had to go through, that's helped you get to where you are now and to where you're going to be going.
I had tried to prepare a little bit for this conversation. I like to keep it pretty organic. And this question that came up, around obstacles and low points, I knew I was going to stay really organic with it because I have so much to choose from, honestly. Right. For being like a middle-class white girl, my low points are it's interesting because it's easy to dismiss our own pain and suffering when we compare it to others. So it's like, oh well, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But the way in which we're impacted by our low points can be just as thoroughly horrible as right. Yes. So I guess I started with that because now that I have the question posed in that way, looking back at an obstacle, I'm almost not sure what to choose to talk about here. Because, even just this week, I had a very low point. And I think that just kind of goes to show that, if you're doing your work on Earth, if you're really getting into the life experience and life, lessons that are here, you're going up and you're going down regularly. And, there can be sustained times of being up, and then there can be dips, and there can be sustained times of being down. And actually, I had some very, very dark times when I was younger. But I think I would like to speak to the more recent ones. And over the last couple years, I hit a depression, and it was for the last few years, it wasn't a really dark depression, but the first few days of it was. So for about 5 days when it first hit, I was definitely down, like really, really, really down, suicidal kind of down. And I didn't, attempt suicide or anything like that, but I definitely got into that very, very dark place. And it was because, I had spent years of 14-hour days at my computer, working on my business, in a state of kind of elation and inspiration, and just so engaged with what I was doing. It was like a hypomanic space I was in for years. Just very, very excited about what was coming with developing this business and learning. Oh my gosh, when you're starting an online business, learning all of the things that you learn.
So much.
So much. You can't even imagine. Like there's a portal phrase right there. I'm going to start a business, you don't even know what you're in for, So, years and years of deep diving into, all the rabbit holes and of business and doing this and, taking out what I saw as like business loans by opening credit cards. I had, sworn off credit cards for nearly a decade. And I was like, okay, well, I'll open these credit cards to like invest in my business and use them as if they were a small business loan, and so I did. And I, got into like all of this debt, and everything. And I just, I really poured everything that I had into developing my business. And then it all kind of came to a head. I maxed out on my credit cards. It was time for me. When I opened them, I was like, okay, by the time it comes around where I need to start paying these things off, I will either, be in the financial place like I'm preparing to be in to be able to pay these things off rather quickly, or I might have to claim bankruptcy. And sure enough, at that point, a few years in, when it all came to a head, I hit overwhelm. It was time for me to start paying these things off, and I did not have my business in a place. I was not in a place where I could do that. I had this business that I was kind of like looking to as a leader, as leading me in my education around business. There was this one particular business and this guy who kind of headed it up that I had put on a pedestal that I was really learning from. And I did learn a lot through that business, but at this moment, he actually, I was scheduled to speak with him on the phone, and he had a phone conversation with me, and in the conversation, he really rattled me and was kind of harsh with me, and it was just a really bad timing to be that way, and then asked me for, like a couple, like $5,000 more or something like that I just didn't have. And it just, It shook me. And that plus, there was just a handful of things. I had just broken up with like the love of my life, and like all of this stuff all came to a head in this moment, and I went down. And it was like the perfect storm, basically, is like, you look at every area of your life and all of a sudden it's like fail. And it's just like, boom, and I went down for a good solid 5 days. And on day 5, I heard this voice inside of me. I felt this like fire in my belly, and I heard this voice. The fire like shot up from my belly up into my heart, and I heard a voice in my head, and it cursed at me. It was fiery, and it just said, "Don't you dare let yourself go down like this. Like, you have worked so hard." And it was just this fiery Emily energy from within. And I went, really? Like, you're going to make me get up, and so I did. And I just started from a very like lethargic place, I took St. John's wort. I went to the gym. I called my friends. I started putting some people on my calendar to get together with socially. Even though I didn't want to, any of it. I didn't want to go to the gym. I didn't want to take, vitamins and herbs that would help make me feel better. I just wanted to wallow in my self-pity, but I didn't. I did these things because of this fiery energy that came up within me. And I very slowly started to pull myself out of this depression. And gratefully, I had the know-how of, the tools that would allow me to like make me feel better. I started, practicing affirmations and doing visualization meditations and, reconnecting with people that would help make me feel better. And And I really went into self-service at that point. If we can't take care of ourselves, we can't help anybody else. And so, so then for the next couple years, it was a little bit of ups and downs and never really kind of hitting that super inspired, hypomanic place again, for a while, but definitely staying at this kind of like, in this place of really, lots of lessons, lots of content to be shared in the future. And so I come back to what I said in the beginning, which is that, if you're here and you're really living and you're really doing your work here as a human, you are going to go up and down. And when you're a coach or a leader, it is in those kind of down moments that you find the content to help other people in the future. It's where the lessons are. It's where you can eventually speak from and connect with other people, understanding from an experiential place what others are going through, and then getting the tools to help them pull themselves out.
Wow. And I think you summarized it really, really well there at the end, that a lot of times those trials, those obstacles that you go to give you exactly what you need to help more people, right?
Yes.
And you got to kind of get out of your way of feeling like a failure, feeling sorry for yourself, and not saying you can't feel all of that stuff, but you got to you got to eventually move forward and see the blessing in the horrible circumstance, right? See the silver lining in what you're going through.
Which totally speaks to the dual nature of kind of everything, the paradoxical nature of everything. So, we may feel like that, he and I may have felt like we failed in our relationships, but really there's so much success in that, like the success of learning those lessons and being able to help people in the future. And, especially for, people who are really, really like trying and giving their all to what they do, there's probably a lot of successes within that relationship itself, in all the ways, that maybe we were trying to make it work. So it's all, your life experience is based upon the lens that you look through. Are you looking through through the lens of failure, or are you looking through the lens of growth and learning and, standing back up and, in other words, success?
So Emily, it doesn't feel like it, but we've kind of gotten to the end of this episode. That really did fly by. I think we just kind of got into a conversation here like old friends.
Yeah, it's so great. I love it.
And so that, although I'll let the conversation go wherever it goes, there is one thing that I always want to do near the end of my interviews and episodes here at Live the Goals podcast, and that's the hot seat scenario. So I'm going to put you on the hot seat here. You ready, Emily?
Yes.
All righty, here we go. So here's the scenario. I'm forcing you to swap lives with one of two people. You get to choose either person A or person B, and then tell me how you're going to take this person from where they are, where she is, into somebody that is shooting for their goals, heading towards success. So Emily, person A, she's working 40 to 50 hours a week. She's living check to check. But after work, she spends, 2 to 3 hours a night watching TV, or maybe on Facebook, maybe on FaceTime, just kind of winding down a little bit. Then we've got person B, who's making a good amount of money, whatever you want to consider a good amount of money, whether that is 100, 200, 300,000. They're not worried about money, whatever that number is. And she is working crazy hours. She basically feels like she wakes up in the morning, goes to work, comes back home, and does it all over again. Now, neither one of these people feel like they are pursuing their passions, and they know they've got to make a change, but just don't really know how and don't feel like they can. So, Emily, which person are you swapping into, person A or person B? And what are a couple of quick steps you're going to take to turn this ship around?
A person B, because the money's already there.
Mm-hmm.
So if the money's already there, it's time to go down. So just like what we've been talking about, what I would do to turn the ship around is stop and take a break. And the taking a break is likely going to cause some level of guilt, dissatisfaction, depression, and that's okay. Like, go down for a while. The money is there. It's in savings. It's wherever it is. But if money isn't an obstacle, then, taking the time and stopping that go, and really I would say straight up quitting the job. Or if that was just too uncomfortable, taking a sabbatical. But giving some time to go down and come back up and start to, tune in to why I've been, I guess, working, nonstop and having money be the priority. What was the purpose of the money? What was I trying to achieve there? And obviously it would be dependent on what the work was that I was doing to make all that money as well, but ultimately, what did I want that money to do for me and in my life and hopefully in the lives of others? And starting to, I'd probably revisit Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and really try to, and probably do some other purpose work and really try to go deep on that, and figure out what would bring me joy in this life, what I'm here to do for myself and for others, and then start to make moves towards that.
Wow, I love I love that starting with why, right? And yeah, that I can imagine that being really scary, saying, I'm going to press the pause button. I'm going to take a sabbatical. I'm going to quit. I'm not happy, but I have enough financial stability that I can do that. And then taking action and actually doing it. And so thank you. I appreciate you playing along with the hot seat scenario. I get so many different answers for that. And I like that because I know I've got so many different listeners and my friends and family. And so, different answers resonate with different people. So thanks for that, Emily. Thanks for playing along.
Absolutely.
And so now we are actually at the end of the episode.
Okay.
And so before I wrap up, I always ask my guests to do two things for us. One, I would love for our friends and family to have a way to get in touch with you. So if you could tell us how we can get in touch with you after this episode, I'd love for you to do that. And then you can flow right into a quote or a mantra that you use to help you through your little slumps or maybe help you get through the day or maybe help you get started in the day. So I'd love for you to share your contact information and then go into your motivational quote or mantra.
Okay, great. I can be found at emilyrosecoaching.com. And actually, as a gift to your listeners, I am offering a complimentary 45-minute coaching call, breakup coaching call, where I help you break up with, the distractions basically in your life that get you into states of overwhelm or keep you from fulfilling your dreams. So just like what we were talking about. And
wow, thank you.
Absolutely. And the link to book that call is, it's a bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly/live the goals. So you can go ahead and book a 45-minute call there if you're interested. And then we can talk one-on-one. That'd be great. And every morning when I get out of bed, as my feet hit the ground, I put my right foot down first and my left foot down second. And I say thank with the right foot and you with the left foot. And I start off every morning with a thank you as my feet hit the ground to be grateful for another day on earth, in this life as Emily Rose and, in my home with my beautiful kitty. And I just really try to realize that, it's not a guarantee that I'll be waking up every day. And so I'm just really grateful that I did today. And so that's really what I kick my days off with.
Thank you, Emily, for sharing. What a beautiful way to start your day with some gratitude, with mixing both the emotion and as well as the physical action to it. Really a nice thing to do that I'm imagining right now that just gets the day off to a nice start. So friends and family, that's something you can do as well. So Emily is sharing all this information with you so that you can get closer and closer to your goals. So Emily, thank you so much for being generous, letting us learn and laugh with you today. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dale. Thanks for letting me go deep and giggle.
Well, friends and family, as you already know, you can find links to everything we've talked about here on the show on the show notes page for Emily. All you have to do is go to livethegoals.com, click on podcasts, and type in Emily into the search box, and this episode will come right on up for you. And I'll have links to the different books that she talked about, as well as links to her offer, just a fantastic offer to give you a free coaching with Emily, the breakup coach, to help you make sure you're getting closer to your goals, your passion, what it is that you want out of your life. So friends and family, remember to always set and reach goals that matter, and we'll talk to you later. Friends and family, thank you so much for subscribing and continuing to listen to this podcast. I really do appreciate each and every download and listen that I get. I'd love for you to help me get the word out about Live the Goals podcast so that we can grow and add more like-minded people to our family. All you have to do is leave a 5-star rating and a short review in your podcast player for Live the Goals podcast. By taking a minute to rate and review the podcast, you let other like-minded people know that they should take a listen and join our family. So thanks for spreading the word, and until next time, remember to set and reach goals that matter.
Thanks for checking out the show today, and make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. We hope you take away something that helps fill your life with purpose and laughter. And make sure you head over to livethegoals.com for more info on guests and resources. Remember to set and reach goals that lead you to a life of purpose and passion.